Good evening, and welcome along to the show. Hope we find you well this evening. We got some great live music tonight from The Rising. We'll be chatting to Chantal and Chris as well. Best-selling author Amanda Prowse will also be with us, talking about her brand new memoir, which is out now. It's called Women Like Us. We'll be talking about stopping food waste with Mary McGrath from charity Foodcycle, and also Masterchef 2018 winner Kenny Tutt. He'll be here as well. And we'll be finding out about a brand new website all about the work of the late great broadcaster Gerry Anderson. It's all coming up on the show tonight. Keep it right here on NVTV. But starting off the show tonight, we're going to find out about a brand new virtual high street app. It's called Roam, and I'm pleased to say Ellen Kerr joins us in the studio to tell us all about it. Ellen, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us. So tell us a bit about the background to the app. What's it all about then?
So Roam is a digital high street, and it's designed to connect local retailers with their community. So on the community side of things, if you have a need in any industry, you can pull up and find a retailer within that industry, and it orders your results depending on your location. So it'll bring up the result that you're looking for closest to you. And on the business side, you can connect directly with your community. If someone chooses to follow you, you can send them push notifications directly to your phone, and you can give them live updates on your profile as well.
So this is for anybody who's in the city centre. It's not just kind of restaurants and bars and stuff. Anybody can get involved.
Any retailer at all, yes.
And there's also a safety aspect to this as well. The guys were explaining on your launch night that if you're out and about with groups of friends, it can help you all stay together as well, can't it?
Yes, so if you're on the Roam app, you can add your friends, and you can plan an itinerary as well. So say you want to do a bar crawl or visit, if you go for drinks after dinner, you can set up that itinerary, and then everyone can join along. And say one friend goes astray that night, if they've given you permission, you can see their location and track them down and make sure that they're okay. So it's a safeguarding feature as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, tell us about the guy who designed this, because he comes from a jockey background, doesn't he? There's a bit of a difference between horses and virtual reality high streets, isn't there?
Yes, Andy was a jockey for years, and I think he was inspired by this need that local businesses now have, especially after the pandemic, for a different way to communicate with their community, because there's not as many people coming into the city centre anymore, and people are looking for virtual options now too. So he was inspired, and he actually learned to code too,
right,
which is, you know, amazing, I think, coming from that background, and that's how Roam was born.
Excellent. So it's readily available now. How do people get it then?
It's on the App Store, and it's free for consumers to download, and it's as easy as putting in just a few basic details about yourself, and then you're good to go.
Okay, so as we said, it is up and running now. So if there's a retailer watching this who isn't on it already, can they still get their business onto the app?
Oh yes, from a business perspective, it's just as easy. So you would go onto a browser, and you would claim your venue. So everyone already has a venue. It's just a matter of claiming your venue. That means that you can personalize your profile and start building that follower count and sending out notifications and stuff like that.
Oh, excellent. So you can make as many updates as you can if you've got sudden changes in your business or stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah? You can update your opening hours, your address policy. You can update anything you'd like. So
give us all the details again. How do we download it? And if businesses want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
If a business would like to claim their profile, they can go to myroamapp.com, and it's as simple as typing in your venue name and claiming that profile. For you and I, we would go on the App Store, and it's a free app to download.
Brilliant. It sounds absolutely amazing. The very best of luck with it, and thank you for joining us on the show.
Thanks very much, Robin, again.
Right, according to new research, almost 98% of us are concerned about the amount of food that we waste every week. We're going to chat now to Mary McGrath from the charity Foodcycle, and also Masterchef 2018 winner Kenny Tutt. Here's what happened when I caught up with both of them earlier on this week. Guys, thank you for joining us. How are you today?
Great, Robin. Lovely to meet you.
So Mary, let's take a look into this latest research then. What have we discovered?
Well, we've discovered that the majority of people in across the UK want to reduce food waste, but unfortunately, something like 2/3 of people are finding that they're throwing something like 400 kilograms of food away every year. And actually, that's quite hard on the old pocket there. It's something like £27 worth of food that we're throwing away every week. So we've teamed up and we want to try and create a campaign to reduce people throwing food away.
So Kenny, people are worried about wasting food. Does this have something to do with the cost of living crisis at the moment?
I think actually there's been an awareness before the sort of that hit mainstream sort of media. I think there's people have been over time getting more aware of not wanting to put things in the bin. It probably goes against our best nature, but definitely now more than ever. We're seeing more people finding it more of a struggle to eat, of course, which is not on. And if there's ways that you can save save some money for you and your family, or potentially not throw stuff in the bin that's perfectly good to eat, with a bit of creativity behind it, then of course, yeah, it's definitely the right thing to do.
So Kenny, can we be creative with those leftovers then?
Yeah, 100%. And my best advice is to try not to overthink things. So not get worried about it. And you might make the odd mistake along the way, but it's okay, and you'll learn from it. But yeah, 100%. There's loads of things you can do, and we've got some great recipes on the Balsam website that have gone up recently. So things like a zero waste pie, or a marinara frittata, which is just like using up leftover pasta, but with some, whisking up some eggs and any leftover cheese, and then adding in the balsam to give it that real luxury feel. There's things you can do. So that's some of the biggest wasted food items like bread, eggs, milk, cheese, lettuce, bananas. I mean,
it's unbelievable, isn't it?
There's still plenty of room for banana bread. There's no problem with a slice of banana bread or in your smoothie or whatever it is. Like lettuce leaves and rocket leaves, you can use that to make wonderful sort of pestos. Blitz up breadcrumbs to do that. Leftover pasta, as I said, there's dishes you can use. There's no real end to things you can do. A big tip would have make sure you got a nicely stocked spice cupboard. I was talking to Mary about, definitely there's always those people have got those cupboards, and it's like never ending. It's like a TARDIS, isn't it?
Yeah, and all the spices that you bought that you've only used once, and it's like you've bought it for a specific recipe, and it's like, put it in a few other things. If you liked it in that recipe, it's still going to be a great spice
100%.
to use in something else.
And even a ground spice that might have been in there for a bit over a year or a couple of years, might get to lose a bit of its virility, but get that in a pan and warm it up, and it brings out all those oils again, and then you bring it right back to life. And that's what we're sort of thinking about, isn't it? It's about different little tips that you can use.
How you can use those foods that you found in the back of the freezer, unidentified frozen objects.
Yeah.
And how you can take them out and just
chip them off,
chip it off, and just spice it up.
That's it.
So it really is amazing the things that you might find in your kitchen cupboards that you never knew were there. I know if I went down to my kitchen at the moment, I'd find some things that, would surprise me, but these things could actually be turned into quite good food, couldn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. We'd encourage you to try it and eat it, and just, even if it's a really old tin of baked beans, just, you can put a bit of cumin spice in it and make it exciting.
Brilliant. So Mary, tell us about your role with Foodcycle then.
Yeah, so Foodcycle, we're a charity that cooks community meals for people who might be lonely or who might be hungry. And we do this with the help of the most amazing volunteers who we train in food safety and health and safety. And they come along and they rescue the surplus food. They take it back to a community kitchen, and that's where the magic takes place. They work out what on earth they're going to do, and they manage to rustle up a 3-course meal, often for up to 60 people at any one point in time. And these meals take place once a week. up and down from up from Newcastle down into Exeter. We've got them in London, we have them in Wales. So there's plenty of opportunities for people to learn how to reduce their surplus food just by volunteering with us or by eating with us. But we believe that we're really an essential part of a community and helping people get together.
And Kenny, you're asking people to share their recipes and share their photographs of their food on social media, aren't you?
Yeah, 100%. So basically, for any recipe shared, so first of all, the recipes are all on the Instagram for Balsan. So you can go at Balsan UK or onto their website, and you'll see all the recipes there. I think the first thing is, don't worry if you haven't quite got the exact ingredients. Don't let that stop you. But get it, get it cooked and take some photos and share it. And the hashtag is You Create, We Donate. And for everyone shared, Balsan are going to donate £5 to Foodcycle, which is the equivalent of three and a half meals.
Yeah, that's incredibly generous of Balsan and incredibly exceptional value for money, because we use our food from surplus and
exactly and
so with the help of amazing volunteers.
People actually getting involved and sharing it, and actually, this is about, of course, what the volunteers did. And I went down and actually had the pleasure of cooking with the volunteers, and they literally did whip me into shape. I mean, they were so great at coming up with three wonderful courses and putting it all together. So Matt really did applaud them for what they did. And that's week in and week out. I only did it.
Yeah, but we absolutely, it was fantastic that you came down and inspired our volunteers. It's really lovely when people who've got incredible skills like yourself come down, share that with our volunteers. It excites them as well, and it makes it all the more reason. And you also had the generosity of your time to sit with all of our guests that evening. You went, I think there was about 8 or 9 tables of guests that day, and
a full house.
It was a full house. And they had, and they also knew that something special was happening. It felt really special. I mean, they love the food that our volunteers cook every week, anyhow. But they were talking about the lovely recipe, and actually, some of them were asking for the recipes. So it was a really lovely evening.
Yeah, definitely. We actually did the marinara frittata, which is one of the recipes, but we also made some little flatbreads using some potatoes and leftover cheese, and then a wonderful sort of strawberry sponge cake. And this is like real, this is real good stuff, and it's like a ready, steady cook moment when you get that box of stuff to use. So it's just great fun as well as everything else.
Yeah.
Now, you can also get some really good bargains in supermarkets at certain times of the day as well, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can definitely see people waiting for those, unfortunately, at this point in time, waiting for those reduced to clear items. And but again, that's helpful because it means we've got less food waste in the system. They take those foods home and they cook and they use them. I think that's much better than food being thrown away in the supermarket. So that certainly is another initiative that's helping people with the cost of living, but also to reduce food waste.
Kenny, I'm just taking a look here at some more of your recipes, and I do love mac and cheese, and the pumpkin mac and cheese. This looks really good.
Yeah, who doesn't love a mac and cheese, right? It's definitely has had a resurgence. So you get mac and cheese with everything in it, but this is a real nice autumnal dish, and actually pumpkin and squashes and things like that. Especially because of Halloween and bits that go on, there's loads of that that's thrown in the bin. So you can roast it off lovely with a little garlic, maybe some shallot and some oil, season it well, even a touch of nutmeg just to bring it a bit of warmth, and then work that through your what you consider a sort of classic mac and cheese. And this particular recipe does have that that flourish of the Balsan to give it a nice creamy finish, which is adding that touch of luxury as well. So it's about, I love food that can bring people together. You just get stuck in, you don't overthink it, and if you get a little bit down your top, it don't matter.
And tell me about these cauliflower wings as well. This is something a bit different.
Yeah, so again, cauliflower is a highly wasted thing. I love cauliflower. I think it's like such a substantial vegetable. It's got lovely flavor, and it's just adding some of those nice sticky sort of Asian flavors, a little bit of spice, a little bit of warmth, and then actually oven baking them nice and high. giving them a crispy coating, oven baking them, and so still quite healthy. It doesn't always have to be calorific.
No, exactly.
I know when I hit food, I was like, I better calm down on the cream and stuff like that. So you got to think about these things as well.
Completely.
It's about nourishing people. But tasty stuff.
How do you make cauliflower rice? That's a thing these days, isn't it?
Yeah, cauliflower rice is a great one. Literally just grate it up. Grate it up, and there's your cauliflower rice.
And you can just sprinkle that into foods, or
you could cook that like you would in a hot pan, but you can add stuff to it, some spring onions, some garlic. Depends on what way you want to go with it. Middle Eastern, or there's so many ways you can go. That's such a substantial thing. So.
Yeah,
sounds good. Getting hungry just thinking about it. Kenny, before we go, tell me about Masterchef. Obviously, you won the series back in 2018. Is it an experience you're glad you did?
Oh, I absolutely loved it, and food's always been a big part of my life. I mean, my mum's actually from Lurgan in Northern Ireland, so she was always a very big home cook, and those big Irish meals that we used to have, I remember so fondly, and that's what sparked the love for it, and that's why I'm doing these sort of things today. And what an experience! I mean, petrifying. Wouldn't want to do it every day.
But amazing to win.
But amazing to win, yeah. That's sort of like, I sort of surprised everyone, especially my wife. And but she's like, where are you going all the time? But really proud, and it's a great thing. And I think it just shows like food as a cultural thing. Is a great brings us together, so it's been fantastic.
And I know somebody who's going on the series this year, so what advice can you give them? Because I would imagine it has to be pretty stressful.
Yeah, it is stressful. It's sort of first world stress, I call it, because it's a wonderful thing to do. But the best advice I'd say is do what you really love doing. So don't suddenly start playing around with phones and stuff like that at the beginning. Show the chefs what you love, the judges what you love to eat, and then also don't worry. And it goes back into this: don't worry too much if you make a mistake, because you will. And it's just learn from that, and maybe don't make it again. So it was fantastic, but just enjoy it as well. It's like anything, isn't it?
So Kenny, what's your kind of speciality dishes that you like to cook at home then?
Oh, I love the simple stuff. I mean, I love Middle Eastern food. I'm a sucker for a kebab. I don't know, grilled meats, curries, stuff like that. And then on a Sunday, I'm a meat and two veg guy. Got to have a roast.
Yeah,
I keep it sort of traditional, and they're the things that going back to this, there's so much stuff you can use. It's so easy with roast dinners and stuff to get loads of this stuff cooked off, and batch cooking and bits like that. But I love a good roast dinner.
Yeah, exactly. We always have leftovers on a Monday from something.
It's the best.
Absolutely. Makes Monday evening easier.
Yeah.
And Mary, are you any good in the kitchen?
I'm not bad actually in the kitchen. I've always loved food. It's been a common theme throughout my whole life. So I do love cooking.
Well, Kenny and Mary, if people want any more information on anything that we've talked about today, where can they go to for that?
Well, indeed, they can go to volunteer with Foodcycle, www.foodcycle.org.uk. But we really want your viewers to get involved in terms of being creative. Go on the Borsan Instagram webpage, and also use the hashtag #WeCreateYouDonate, because that's going to also benefit Foodcycle, which would be brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant.
Well, Kenny and Mary, great talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Pleasure, Robin.
Thank you so much, Robin.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
So, time now for some live music here in the NVTV studios. And The Rising are always welcome here. And here they are with one of their new tracks.
Do you remember a time when it was only you and I? We didn't need nobody else's point of view. Suddenly years pass us by, and in this tunnel there's no light. We're just wandering round. go breaking my heart like you promised you wouldn't. Tell me it's over, make me feel better. I know it's hard right now, but it will blow over. Baby, the bruise you left will always hold up for always. Oh, oh, oh. Each time we break up, you and I keep falling into it every time. And we believe that we can always work it out. Oh, through all of the hurt and all of the lies, I can see now you got wandering eyes. You'll get it, but I know for sure we're on our way out. It's been a long, hard road. The end is coming soon, I know. Don't go breaking my heart like you promised you wouldn't. Tell me it's over, make me feel better. I know it's hard right now, but it will blow over. And baby, the bruise you left will always hold up for always. Oh, 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 yeah. We keep fighting and hardly trying. Don't think we'll ever work it out. Oh yeah, like an addiction. Well, I can't resist you. No, we will never work it out. So don't go breaking my heart like you promised you wouldn't. Tell me it's over, make me feel better. And I know it's hard right now, but it will blow over. And baby, the bruise you left will always hold up. Hey, hey, hey.
So there we go, performing live in the NVTV studios. That is The Rising. That's called Bruise You Left. And Chantal and Chris join us now. Guys, welcome. Tell us the good news about that song. How many hits has it got?
Just over 200,000 now.
Wow.
So it's really incredible.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant.
So shocked.
Do these hits, Chris, actually mean anything? Do you actually make money from these hits?
Well, yeah, you get some residual royalties from them. It's actually quite a good income.
Yeah.
Sort of a lot of people sort of scaremonger about it, but we're doing okay with it. Could be doing more, but it's roughly about the same as a radio play.
Okay.
So it's not too bad. You know.
Excellent. Okay, we'll talk about what you're up to in a second, but me and you always have a little reminisce during these sessions as well. And there's a little photograph appearing on the screen now that I used on my social media early this week of a very young you, way back in the City Beat Young Star Search days. And those shows keep coming back to haunt me.
Honestly, they're coming back to haunt me as well. So you were in the same boat. I think I was 8 in that picture.
Yeah,
I think I sung Annie and you slated me.
Yeah.
And hey, we're here now though.
Exactly.
10 years later.
Look where we are now, all these years later. But they were good fun shows. I mean, thousands of people turned out to see us.
It was really interesting. It was my first real taste of actually performing live on stage to an audience and really getting that reaction. The comments from the judges actually really helped me. I actually came back and I took on the critiques that you all gave me. Like, I think one of them was you're singing too like belty, because I was shouting some of the things, and I think one of the reactions was if you quieten your voice a little, you will have a much purer sound. So I came back and I took on that critique, and I got better comments the next week. And I always really found that as my passion to really take on everything that I was told, reapply it, come back, be better, and see where it got me.
Yeah, exactly. And you haven't sung Annie since?
Nope. I actually haven't. I appeared in Annie in the Grand Opera House once, and I remember asking them not to cast me as Annie. I was like, please don't cast me as Annie. Like, I can't. I physically can't.
Now, I remember even way back then as a kid, you were starting to write stuff. You probably didn't realise you were doing it.
No.
But you were writing your own lyrics to well-known songs, weren't you?
Yeah, so in Castle Court, one of my biggest things was I was bored of singing to the judges, right? So I done hot and cold, where I would be like pointing at Robin or pointing at Tina, and it was getting to that point where people expected that from me. They expected a stage show when I was on stage. So I was like, right, I'm going to change it up a little bit, and I'm going to add the judges' names. And actually, I'm not just going to stop at the judges. I'm going to stop at the radio presenters who are actually comparing it. So I wrote in the names to the wild popular song called So What by Pink.
Yeah.
And it went something like, I guess I just lost my table, they give it to Mickey Modell, he was one of the judges. And then I was like, I guess I'll go sit with Robin, at least he knows how to yell, because you were yelling at every single contestant. And then it was like, one of the songs on the radio said Stuart is gonna die, Stuart Robinson.
Yeah.
He was obviously over it. And then I was like, Tina will get in trouble and Mickey will start a fight. And the audience just went mad for it, and I was like, this is how I know what I'm meant to do. This is me.
And of course, you are living the dream. You are doing it.
I
The
am.
Rising's going well.
Yes.
You've teamed up with Chris here. So how did the two of you meet? How did it all come about?
It's kind of
Do you want the real story?
involved
Of course.
Okay, you want the real story?
We'll go with the real one.
Yeah, okay, so the press release version really says that we met at a singer-songwriter night. That's all lies.
Yeah.
So I remember doing a Dolly Parton tribute band. As a kid, I was in the performing part of the stage show, and I was sitting in the auditorium when they brought in this live band for the first time, and I was very confused. I was like, okay, they're all mad people, they're all weird to me, because I was always used to backing tracks. So it was like really strange. And we were pointing out, we were like, the pianist looks a bit quiet, the drummer looks a bit old. And obviously, because you're like 13, you don't really understand this kind of stuff. And then this guitar player walked in, and we all went, why is there a heavy metal guitar player in a country band? This doesn't make any sense, because it was all in black, the long hair. It was like, are you meant to be here? So we actually met at the Marketplace Theatre in Armagh.
Yeah.
And one of my original songs that I wrote. And Chris came to the side of the stage and was like, did you write that? And I was like, yeah, it's not really that good. And he was like, no, you're going to come and record with me. And I said, that's a lie. I've seen this before. Everyone says that you're going to come record. We're going to make a CD. We're going to get famous. All lies. So I was like, of course you will. He actually called me up the next week, phoned my mum up, sorry.
Yeah.
He phoned my mum up and went, I need her to write songs and I need her to record them. Went up, recorded, started writing for The Rising, and here we are.
Yeah.
And here you are, and the stuff has been really well received. The thing I love about it is, it stands up there with all the American stuff that's out there. That's what I think. It's not your kind of Irishy country stuff, is it?
Yeah. Well, we're very influenced by the sort of American side of things, Sort of I grew up listening to the Eagles and all that kind of stuff, and that kind of goes out into the music. But I also love pop music, and we're both really into all types of music.
Yeah.
So we kind of just put them all in the pot, stir them about, and see what comes out. It's mainly the American side of it, really passionate about it.
Well, I think you know better than most people that the American side of country came to me pretty soon, because
exactly.
I done Carrie Underwood on your show.
Yeah,
and so I think when Chris saw that I knew American country, because wasn't really a big thing over here.
No, exactly, yeah.
So I think when he was like, oh, and then he put two and two together and went, this could be golden.
Yeah. You've been busy recently. You've been doing festivals and everything, haven't you?
Yeah, we've been over everywhere, really, haven't we? We done, it's a festival called Buckle and Boots in Manchester. Is it Manchester?
Manchester,
yeah. Manchester. So we done Manchester, and then we done the Winter Gardens in Blackpool.
Oh, one of my favourite venues.
It's incredible. It's such an amazing venue, and Lucy Spraggan was there.
Yes.
I got to meet Lucy Spraggan.
Wow.
I was so excited. She was incredible. Meeting an incredible songwriter like that, amazing. And we played BBC last year as well, so getting more, hopefully.
And it seems that you're always releasing stuff as well. And you've had this Kickstarter thing going on as well, haven't you?
Yeah, well, basically what we thought was being an independent artist, obviously we're funding everything and doing everything ourselves. So we thought, right, well, instead of trying to work out how we're going to get money, why don't we try to get the fans involved?
Yeah.
So we thought we'll do what's called a Kickstarter, which is basically where we put out rewards for people. So they will bid for something. So one thing we did was we gave away a lyric book,
Right.
where we wrote the lyrics out and people will buy the lyric book, and that will help fund the thing. And then obviously you can buy copies of the album in advance. So it's basically a way to give back to them, and they pre-order it, we get the finances to make it, and it's kind of a one-to-one relationship.
Excellent.
You know?
Yeah. And of course, your fans are loving the live streams you do on social media, on Facebook and stuff as well, aren't they?
They're more of a comedy show, if I'm being honest. Yeah, we started doing those over lockdown as a way to kind of keep music going, because obviously everything's dropped. Live music releases slowed down quite significantly, so we tried to keep live streams as a big thing. And people seem to really latch on to that because it was a one-on-one thing, and me and Chris are definitely not one of these serious bands. I mean, we act like we are, we're not. We're really funny, and it's hilarious to be like, I don't actually know the song that we're about to sing because it was released like 100 years ago. I've never heard it before in my life, so we're doing it for you guys though. Or the factoids that come out really are hilarious because we done like a movie week, and Chris is a big horror movie buff, and everything about it I hate horror films, so people started sending in like gifs of horror films, and I hate clowns. They're like the worst thing possible. Although telling you this now, I'm regretting, because next time I come in here there will be a clown.
Clowns everywhere.
It's not going to be great, but like someone actually sent me like on a PM, one of the fans was like, they sent me a clown picture. I freaked out. I had to leave the live stream. Like, I could not go. So yeah, the live streams seem to be well received, although now it seems to be a bit different.
Yeah, it's kind of evolved, really. Originally, they were kind of made to, because it's always been that sort of distance between you and the fans. It's like, they're over here, you're over here, and never to meet. Yes, so what we did with the live streams, we started to realise that we were developing a community with them, and they were able to talk directly to us, and then they would sort of build up a relationship, and they would tell their friends, and more people would come in. So it built up that community, and it got to the point where they were starting to meet each other outside the streams, like different fans and stuff. So we realised how important it was, and then we played Blackpool during sort of the summer there, and we actually had people that we had never met before come up to us and say that your live streams helped you get through the lockdown.
Brilliant.
So it's you kind of realise that it's not about you anymore.
Yes.
It's about sort of that connection to people. Exactly. So it's really interesting how they evolved. Indeed.
What's the greatest horror movie of all time?
I don't know. Oh, that's a big one. Probably Psycho.
One of my favourites as well. Still, bits of it still scare me to this day.
Oh yeah,
it really does.
It's the tension.
Yeah, the tension and that, or Halloween, the original
Michael
Myers
Halloween
still gets me as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
You
Yeah.
watch them,
We went to see that.
I went to see, they dragged me. They were like, okay, we're going to see just like, really, it's an 80s horror film. It's more comical. It's like Gremlins. And I was like, okay, I like Gremlins because obviously my dog is called Gizmo.
Yes.
So I was like, okay, Gremlins is okay. That's not a horror film. I went into the Halloween and I was like, I came out and I was like, what if there's someone standing at my door? There's going to be someone like standing in my like back garden. I was so stressed. It's awful.
Didn't you meet the guy from Gremlins recently?
Broke my heart. I was like, oh my goodness, this is so amazing. Chris actually found it online first because I love like comics and films and stuff like that, but Chris is a massive like Comic-Con fan. And he was like, Zach Gallion is gonna be. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know the name. Can you tell me the name? And then he showed me Gremlins, and I was like, we're going.
Zach Galligan in Lisburn. Of all places.
I know. And I also met James Masters from Buffy.
Wow.
He's on my home screen. Okay. He's like, I love him so much. I'm sorry, I'm a huge Buffy fan.
And they're both awesome people as well.
They actually were so dead on. Yeah. I didn't actually, it's like meeting someone in real life. You're like, whoa, I did not expect you to be this way. And when you, like, especially like Zach, he was so chilled. And he had this wee gremlin with him, and it was so cute.
The good gremlin and the bad gremlin.
Oh, Gizmo, obviously. Gizmo,
obviously. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right, enough gremlin talk. What's the plans for the rest of the year then?
We are making an album at the minute. So obviously we're sort of knee deep in it, and we're hoping it is going to be out either towards the end of the year or at the start of next year. It's very exciting. What we're doing is, everything's all about streaming these days. So what we're thinking is give the fans something back. So what we're going to do is a vinyl, sort of booklet sort of thing, where it'll have all the artwork and pictures of making it, and it'll become like a collector's piece rather than just here's the music. So we're really excited about that. Lots of things coming up, really.
We also have an EP coming out just to bridge that gap between single and album called the Ugly Cable Sessions EP.
Wow.
Named by the fans on a live stream.
Yeah.
We were wondering what name to put onto an EP. just of some songs that they liked.
Yeah.
And just so happened in that live stream, Chris gave me the ugliest cable. And I just happened to say, this is such an ugly cable. And then that just made everyone's day. They wanted the ugly cable sessions. So that's what is coming up too.
Okay, let's have one more live track before you go. What are you going to do this time?
We are going to do our brand new single. It's called When You Were Mine.
Okay.
And it's a pretty cool song, that one, I think. Yeah.
It's more the rocky side of things.
Okay, well, hear it now. Chris and Chantal, good to see you. Thank you so much for coming in.
Always have us.
So here we go with their brand new single. Here are The Rising.
Rather yours after dark. Already know there's a spark. It's just you and me in an attic room, trying not to get lost in the mood. No, got tangled up in your sheets. David Gray playing on repeat, and there's lightning running through my veins. But you and me were like paper planes. I don't want you to see that I fall easily. How was I to know? I'd have to let you go. But if I had the chance, then I wouldn't want to go back, 'cause it ruined everything we had, yeah. When you were mine, and it's such a shame, babe, that everything ain't the same. But I'll be the one to take the blame for when you were mine, mine, mine. Don't get me wrong, it was kind of fun, but loving you is like a game for one. You were only just in it for yourself, didn't care about no one else. Tell me I'm wrong, 'cause now I see I fell too easily, but I got something to say. I never loved you anyway. So if I had the chance, then I wouldn't want to go back, 'cause it ruined everything we had, yeah. When you were mine, and it's such a shame that, babe, everything ain't the same. But I'll be the one to take the blame for when you were mine, 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 yeah, yeah, yeah. And even though those nights felt like a dream to me, the only place I see you now is memories. And we crossed the line before a moment in time. I guess that you were mine, mine, mine. If I had the chance, then I wouldn't want to go back, 'cause it ruined everything we had. When you were mine, and it's such a shame, babe, everything ain't the same. But I'll be the one to take the blame for when you were mine, 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 yeah, 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 you were.
Now, another guest who's always welcome on the show is best-selling author Amanda Prowse. She's just written her new memoir, which is called Women Like Us. And here's what happens when I caught up with Amanda earlier this week. Amanda, how are you today?
I am good, thank you, Robin. Thank you so much for having me on. This is lovely.
Lovely to see you again. And this time you've written a book all about yourself.
I know, very scary. It feels very exposing, like showing someone your diary and all your photographs, which I wouldn't advise, honestly. Too scary.
Now, I've had you on the show before. I've seen you on TV with Jeremy Vine, and to look at you, you would think you have the greatest life ever. You've published something like 26 books, so it's hard to believe that you actually suffer from a lack of confidence. You actually hide it very well.
I think people, you never know anyone's story by looking at them. And actually, on paper, goodness me, wonderful success selling books, lovely marriage, great family, beautiful kids, it's all great. And yet I would very often just sit in the bath and cry and eat cheese on toast and crisps, which for me felt a really sad way to live because, why was I letting it ruin my life? And it's blighted my whole life. And I talk about it a lot in the book, how every single aspect of my life that should have been great has been blighted by this obsession with food, secretly eating, guiltily eating, overeating vast quantities and then denying it. I mean, toxic, really toxic.
So even at a very young age, did you know that you always wanted to be a writer?
No, I didn't think it was possible for someone like me. I grew up in a very working class household. We didn't have any books in our house. I know I've told you that before. Well, actually, we had a copy of the Haynes Car Manual and a Littlewood's catalogue, but I don't think that counts. There was no East Wing with a library in it. My parents were just, had me when they were very young and they were just working hard to put food on the table, I think. So no books. I thought, to write a book, you had to have a spare bedroom or at least to have been to Mallorca. I had neither of those things and therefore didn't think I stood a chance, which probably explains why I didn't write a book until I was 42. So because I didn't have the confidence, I didn't feel that it was right for someone like me. I was brought up, educated in the 1970s, where I just expected, if I was very lucky, to get picked to get married. That was my life goal, preferably by David Cassidy. Didn't happen.
Who I actually met as well. We did have David Cassidy on the show quite a few years ago before he sadly passed away. I was doing a big gig at the SSE Arena in Belfast with the Bay City Rollers, and David Essex was on the bill as well, and I did get the chance to meet the man himself, David Cassidy. In fact, here's a little clip of what happened.
Hi, I'm David Cassidy, and of course I'm here at the Odyssey Arena in Belfast with Robin. As you can see, I'm doing time for many crimes that I've committed over the years. The first one being I've never performed in Ireland until tonight. So to all of you, please forgive me, my Irish ancestors.
I had his poster as well, actually. I used to practice snogging on it. Is that too much information? It probably is.
It probably is. Now, as we've mentioned before, you're also a big fan of the Bay City Rollers, aren't you?
I am, and oh my gosh! But you see, all those things I thought happened to other people. All the good stuff, Robin. It didn't happen to someone like me who was, not in the clever club or the pretty club or the sporty club or the, the rich club. I was just this chubby kid at the back eating crisps, wondering how to make my mark in the world, and I didn't know how to get out the blocks. And I think there's so many people like me who have this head full of ideas and so much energy for what they want to do, but I just didn't have a clue how to get started, which I think explains why I didn't do it until middle age, which shows it's never too late, right?
Now, I was reading earlier about some of the tough times in your life, and before you started writing, there were times when you were completely skint, you had no money.
Yeah, I've had loads of times we've been completely skint, and funny, I used to think when we had a bit of money, or if we ever got a bit of money, that'd make everything okay and I'd be really happy. Didn't quite work like that. It just transpires happiness has got to come from within you. And it's not about having stuff or even trips to Mallorca or spare bedrooms. It's about how you feel about yourself. And until, I reached middle age and was able to look in the mirror and embrace aging and know that aging is an absolute privilege. My goodness, how many people do we know who we would love to be here aging, who we've lost too soon? You and I both. Oh my goodness, wrinkly foreheads, bit of a whiskery chin, eye bags, bingo wings. It's all okay. It's a privilege to be here, and I'm determined to live the rest of my life, whether it's another 5 years or another 50, just feeling very, very grateful and happy that I've managed to break that trap of compulsive and overeating.
Now, recently I've been talking a lot about getting some work done, and I've been said that I'm not afraid to get things done like Botox. Is that something you would consider?
I did try it. I tried it once. I didn't like the way it felt. I felt it was quite inauthentic for me because I'm very keen in my books to tell people, you know what, you can be anything you want. You can live your life however you want. Life begins when you let it. And there I was trying to keep the years at bay. And I think if Botox, if tweakments, if the potions and lotions, if they work for you and that makes you feel good, absolutely do it. This isn't a book about, an ideal body shape. It's not about achieving skinny. It's not about saying this is how you should live. It's about saying you need to live in the way that's right for you. And what's right for me is hanging back a bit in the beauty stakes and saying it's okay not to brush your hair from one year to the next. It's okay to have, your teeth a bit yellow. You don't need to go down that route if you don't want to. If you do, you do you, and it's good for you. But it's all about what's right for your mental health. And this is what's right for mine.
Now, you've called your book Women Like Us, and I would imagine there are thousands of women out there who can relate to all the stories and the things that have happened to you.
Yeah, I think so. And one of the things, the book, has only been out for a very short while, but already I'm inundated with messages of people telling me that they weren't sure how to break the cycle for themselves, how their lives have been blighted by overeating or maybe just feeling a bit less than, and that the book has really given them a strategy. And people are reading it in two ways. It's really interesting. They're reading it as a memoir, from start to finish, from my childhood to my present day, but also they're using it as kind of like a self-help guide. It's become a bit of an aid to sort of give them pointers on how they can change the way they look at and view themselves, which is wonderful. I just love the idea of that so much.
Now, my wife has also just written her autobiography. It's all about her career as a performer on the West End, on London's West End stage, and coping with depression through that. And she ended up having to give up her career on the West End. I
would definitely invest in a copy, and I really look forward to reading it. Did she find it helpful? Did she find it cathartic?
She did find it very cathartic, and the book is actually helping a lot of people. But during the promo tour for the book, when she was doing all the interviews and stuff, she did kind of throw herself back into a depression during that time.
I completely understand that, because you do feel very vulnerable and very exposed. My heart goes out to Pauline, because it's not easy. It takes a certain kind of bravery, whatever your issue is, to talk about it publicly. It takes a certain kind of bravery, and it comes at a consequence. And I think that had I had this conversation with you, and I'm sure, I hope Pauline would agree, that if I'd had this conversation with you maybe even a couple of years ago, I would have found myself feeling incredibly vulnerable, and probably sought, food as my comfort. But having written Women Like Us, because I have these strategies for now coping better, I feel I'm able to have this conversation. I don't feel like I'm going to go and dive into a pasty when we finished. I feel actually, I'm like, no, I'm in a good place right now. It's really helped break that cycle, that negative sort of interior monologue that's dogged me all my life. But I wish Pauline nothing but love and success. It's a hard road to walk, Robin.
So what's next for you then? Are you always thinking about the next book?
Always. Yeah. So I've just finished my next work of fiction, which is called Picking Up the Pieces, which comes out, I think, January or February. Always thinking. It's like, I don't know, it's become my lifeblood. I just absolutely love it. I love doing what I do. I never thought a girl like me, I never thought women like us would write books, would feel confident, would be able to come and have chats with people like you and talk about the size of my bum. But here I am. And if I can do it, anyone can do it, which is really what the book's about.
Well, what I love about talking to you as well is the fact that we actually forget that we're actually on TV when we're doing this.
Yes. Which, trust me, can lead me into all kinds of trouble, Robin. Honestly, I know. Maybe I should remember a bit more.
Well, Amanda, it's been great talking to you. The best of luck with the book. It's called Women Like Us, and it's out now. Good to talk to you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, lovely Robin. And best of luck to Pauline in every sense, really.
Now, we're going to finish the show this week with something very special. And you know what? There isn't a day goes by when somebody out there, especially taxi drivers, mention the late, great broadcasting giant Gerry Anderson to me. Well, a new anthology website is up and running, all thanks to Gerry's family. And I'm pleased to say that David Anderson joins us now in the studio. David, how are you?
Great. Not you yourself?
Very well, thank you. So I said in the intro there isn't a day goes by when somebody doesn't mention your dad to me. He is still much missed by those thousands and thousands of listeners that he had every day.
Oh, he certainly is. I mean, I'm the same as well. People are constantly talking about him and such warm memories about people, basically laughs people had, which is nice.
Yeah. Though those laughs, people can watch little clips now online, especially the on-air cartoon series, which was amazing. And this is kind of how the whole website came about, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we've been speaking for the family. We've been talking for years that a lot of his work is in different places. And you know, if, like yourself, myself, we would know where to go to find different places. But someone who just maybe take a notion, it's like, where do you go? Because it's on YouTube, on BBC Sounds, and a bunch of different places. So we thought by putting a website in, which is geraldmichaelanderson.com, which is what he referred to himself as, Gerald Michael Anderson. It's really one place where you can go, and we've got the on the air clips, which is the animated clips from Flickerpix. We've got some of the podcasts from the Gerry Anderson Show from BBC, which Conor McKay pulled together. Yeah. We've got a few other links from his TV, like A City Dreamin', Mark Macaulay, and then a couple of links to his two books, Surviving Stroke City and Head. So just a nice kind of start with some of his work, you know.
One of the clips went online recently, and I mean, I think it's got something like 8 million views already, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. I mean, there's a guy in Dublin called Paul O'Kane, posted it around a week ago, and it just went completely viral. My phone just kept buzzing. People were kind of sending messages saying, you know, have you seen this? But I think the audience that reached, which was incredible, there was like old kind of listeners who were happy to hear him again, expats who are kind of tuning back into the humour here, like. And then what I thought was brilliant was really almost children of people. There's one guy, he said that he remembers listening to my dad when he was small in his granny's kitchen, and he never quite got it. Yeah. And now he's listening back thinking, right, that's actually quite funny, you know. So people are discovering him again, so that's kind of cool.
And of course, for rediscovering as well, the books are a great way to start as well, both Heads and Surviving in Stroke City. What I love about the books are, when you're reading them, you actually hear Gerry's voice talking to you through the book.
Yeah, he always kind of, he writes the way he talks, which is kind of funny. Like, so I always thought it was nice. I find they're super reassuring, sitting reading them, like, they're kind of nice.
Yeah. What was it like having the great man for a dad then?
Can I say unconventional? I mean, that's just what he was like all the time. So, I mean, for me, it was funny. He was always that kind of sense of humour. He would always be making you think. He would never give you a straight answer. He would make you think about stuff, and always massively impacted by kind of music. So we'd always talk about music and kind of what was happening. So, I mean, he was fantastic, super encouraging. And again, it's just the way you see him is that's how he was. So I've had many decades of that.
Yeah. But I mean, there was a very private side to him as well, wasn't there?
Yeah, he was totally private. I mean, one of the funny things, he always would have kept a lot of himself kind of out of the radio. You know, like, for example, he never really mentioned me or the family directly. He would have, when I had my first daughter, he would have played the odd song that was her name in it, or he would have said congratulations, but he would never been too direct about it, so he was always quite private about his own life. And actually, I would say maybe quite shy sometimes as well, which was funny.
Yeah. When you used to get the feedback from people listening to him on the radio, I suppose it's then, as a family, you realised how big he actually was and how much he actually meant to everybody here in Northern Ireland.
Oh, completely. I mean, it was funny. I think he enjoyed what he did, and you never really know how it's landing with people, because, you know, as you know yourself, you hear back from the noisy people.
Yes.
The quiet people who enjoy it, you don't really know. I had a great comment on Twitter that someone said, I wonder if he ever met Terry Wogan, wouldn't that be such a great pair? I was like, well, they were great friends. They did loads of stuff together.
And the clip is on the NITV archive page as well.
That's right.
Together, it's up there.
You know, and there's, because you forget that he'd been around the BBC for decades, so he'd met pretty much everyone, and then all the music people beforehand.
Yes.
So he had this massive network of people that he just call in and talk to. You know.
I always have this brilliant vision in my head that he's up there watching down on us, and him and Geordie Tutt are sitting together having a little drink.
Well, if they are, they probably wouldn't be watching. They'd be sitting talking to each other, so they'd forget what they were doing. But he was really a people person. He would really connect with people as he was sitting work. So I mean, I thought it was, that's such a nice thought to think that he would be doing that.
And the listeners were such a massive part of the show as well. You think of all the characters that he brought on. They all had, like him, these amazing stories to tell.
Yeah, I think he's tapped into a very, I would say, unique sense of humour, you know, and it's hard to describe it, but you would know, I mean, it's all things about cowboys and Indians and stuff, and it's just a very specific way of thinking, but a lot of people tapped into that.
Yes.
You know, I think someone said that he was very kind of non-judgmental and open about the humour. It wasn't very sort of, you know, it wasn't too away from people. So I think that was, that really opened it up to lots of different audiences. And what I found interesting, he'd get a new audience all the time. Every now and then he'd say to me, all the students are listening. because he get all these letters from people in Queen's and Ulster University. So that was always a real kick, you know.
Indeed. You're on the Antiques Roadshow recently as well with his guitar. I mean, that was a stunning guitar.
Yeah, it was I think it was like a 1960s Fender Precision bass. And he always, like, he's had that guitar since, you know, since before I was born. And he always used to tell me that bass was hand-checked by Mr. Fender himself. They don't make them like that anymore. And I'd be like, yeah, dead on. So I used to kind of play it a little bit. And he always told me it was worth a lot of money. And I never really believed him, of course. But Antiques Roadshow proved he was right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They put a price of around, I think, 8,000 on it, like, which is pretty, which is a lot, like, you know.
And is that the guitar that's on the front cover of Heads with him?
Yes.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah,
yes,
it was a red Fender, but he scraped all the red paint off because it was cooler to have wood.
I used to love talking to him about the rock and roll years, especially the time in Canada spent with Ronnie Hawkins and the Hawks. I mean, that was a wild time, wasn't it?
Oh, it was incredible. And I mean, you could picture how I was like when I was a kid, teenager into music. I'd be listening to someone like Bob Dylan, and he'd be like, I met him, you know. He's like, what? He said, I sat beside him in a party once. And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah, he said, do you know the big white hat he wears with the feather? Like, yeah, he was wearing that. I'd be like, really? Yeah. I said, what did you say to him? He says, it just is all right. So I think he was around all those people, but again, you know, you also remember he was super cool as well. So he wasn't going to, you know, be starstruck. I think the only person he was ever starstruck with was David Attenborough.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and he yeah, that was a funny story. I think he came up to him and told him Blue Planet was great. David Attenborough went, yes, thank you.
Brilliant. Well, I've got some clips standing by now, including the fabulous story that he tells about Ronnie Hawkins and the Hawks and some others from our archive as well. But in the meantime, if people want to check out the website, it is geraldmichaelanderson.com, isn't it? Yep, that's right. And we have a wee sort of subscribe area. So again, as we add more content, you know, you'll get an email as that comes on. Like, so I'd encourage people to come on to geraldmichaelanderson.com, leave your email address and subscribe. We'll not send you too many emails, and then you can even just leave a comment. A lot of people are leaving comments with nice stories, which is brilliant to hear. And I would imagine there's a lot of people out there who have photographs with him as well, and I'm sure you'd love to see those photographs as well. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, again, the idea of the website is to build a community around his work, you know, so there's lots of stuff around, so we're kind of going to collect a lot together, just so other people can enjoy, you know. So. Yeah. Brilliant. Well, David, good to see you as always. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you, Robin. Appreciate it. So do check out the website, geraldmichaelanderson.com. Here's some stuff from the NVTV archives, featuring myself and the late, great Gerry Anderson.
Well, what we were playing this particular place called Peterborough, actually. And I noticed this guy came in a few nights. He didn't look like the rest of the people. Kind of long leather coat stuff, you know, and blonde hair and kind of, you know, civilized looking. And he came in and he seemed to be watching the band, and we noticed that because nobody else watched the band. So he came up to me at the end of the week, Saturday night. He said, do you want to do an audition? I said, for what? He said, for a band. I said, ooh. I said, well, what band? He said, Ronnie Hawkins and the Hawks. I said, who are they? And he went, what? I said, I don't know. He said, if I was you, I would. Uh-huh. And I went, well, okay. Well, what's the story? He said, well, if you want to. He said, do you want to do it? I said, I would do it if I were you. Yeah. And he said, okay. He said, and I said, well, the only time I could do it would be tomorrow because we're moving tomorrow and then we're going elsewhere. But we're not moving till the afternoon. Could you get somebody to pick me up or something in the morning whenever these guys are in bed? And then I'll just say that I'm going somewhere else. I'll meet them somewhere else, wherever we're going on the Monday. Yeah. You know, I mean, could you drive me? I said, oh yeah. I said, don't worry about all that. He said, somebody will come and collect you about maybe 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. So I'm standing outside this motel and this big Rolls Royce arrives on. Yeah. And I kind of stepped back. I said, wow. And it stopped. I thought it was, just passing. And there's this guy with a joint and looking out the window. He said, are you an Irish kid? I went, yes. He said, jump in. You see? And I jumped in the front. He said, no. He said, in the back. He said, live a little. Yeah. I said, what's this? Yeah. And I looked at the Rolls Royce. It had a big hawk on the side of it. So he said, we're going to Toronto. And I said, are we? Because that's 150 miles away, He said, yeah. He said, there's been a change of plans. All the other guys are going to be there. Some kind of a do on there. He said, you should go to that. She said, you're okay until tomorrow night, aren't you? And I said, yeah. He said, you can stay there Monday tonight. All right. So I jumped in, go to Toronto. And we arrived there about kind of 3 or 4 o'clock. There's kind of a party on, and lots of strange people hippies, journalists, strange women, dogs, everything, you know,
Yeah.
in this palatial mansion.
Right.
Palatial mansion. It's like a Sistine Chapel. And the guy that was there, the drummer guy was there, and he came over, and there was this guy in the corner called Ronnie Hawkins, big white hat, cigar, you know. So he brings him over and he said, "This is the Irish kid." He said, "I'm going, you know, I have a name." He said, "You the Irish kid?" I said, "All right." You know.
At this stage, did you know who he was and how big he actually was?
No, I did. Well, I talked to the guy.
Yeah, in the car, yeah.
The guy in the car told me.
Yeah.
And I was asking about it. He was amazed I didn't know anything. And he told me about Bob Dylan and about John Lennon and you know, about the band and all that kind of stuff, you know, about the connection, about this guy was the greatest guy in the world, stuff like that, you know. And if you join this band, you fly and all that kind of thing. So I arrived in, kind of wired up a bit. And he said, "Go and have a drink." I said, "All right." So I got into kind of bad company, and they're quite drunk. I ended up in a very compromising situation. Anyway,
right.
I woke up the next morning, you see, and I go, "Oh, you know," and this knock on the door, "Yeah, breakfast," this kind of thing. So when I goes downstairs, a bunch of strange people around the table, sitting with a hat and cigar, and he says to me, "You drank all my whiskey, son." I said, "I'm sorry." He said, "That's all right." I said, "You know, I have to go to London, Ontario. I have to be there kind of this afternoon. And it's a bit late now, isn't it?" I said, "You wanted me to do an audition?" He said, "You already did that." I said, "Did I?" I said, "No, I wasn't that drunk. I don't remember doing it." He said, No. He said, "You don't understand. I can't do his accent. Don't understand, boy." He said, "The audition is not about Dwayne, sorry, the guy, the drummer. The drummer says you can play all right." He said, "That's all right. He knows. And you can sing a bit." He said, "That's all I want." He said, "All we need to know is what kind of guy you are."
Yeah.
Quickest way I know to find that out, get a guy drunk. You can see the real guy right away.
Brilliant.
You see, you take 3 or 4 weeks to find out.
Yeah.
And by that time you're in the band. He said, "You're no saint," he said, "but you're all right." He said, "You're not crazy."
Always good to see Gerry back on our TV screens. Do check out the website, which is geraldmichaelanderson.com. That's all we have time for on the show this week. Thank you for watching. Thank you to all the guests, and I'll see you back here same time next week. Bye-bye.